Okay, what's good, everyone? It's Nigel here, Trinidad Empowerment Network. So tensions in the Southern Caribbean have reached a dangerous new level. It's reached a dangerous new level. This month, the United States carried out 2 separate military strikes on boats linked to Venezuela. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro says these attacks break international law and amount to open aggression. Our Prime Minister, recent statements have now drawn Trinidad and Tobago into the conversation in a way we cannot ignore. Hence, we are here talking about it today. So where are we? Let's start with a timeline of events. On September the 2nd, as most of you know, the US forces targeted a vessel the US described as a narcotics smuggling boat connected to the Venezuelan gang known as Trinidad Tobago. 11 people were killed. The United States justified this action as part of a counter-narcotics mission. Venezuela called it a criminal act and a violation of their sovereignty. Less than 2 weeks later, on September the 15th, which is only a couple of days ago, the United States confirmed a second strike, this time in international waters. 3 people were killed aboard another vessel. The US again claimed this was a drug trafficking. Once more, Washington defended the strike as necessary to stop narco-terrorism. Caracas labeled it a second act of aggression. Things are only just heating up, as you can see. Now, in the days between and after those strikes, more incidents were reported. Venezuelan officials accused the US or the US forces of boarding a Venezuelan fishing vessel inside their exclusive economic zone, calling it illegal and hostile. President Maduro announced that relations with the United States are now at an all-time worst, completely broken. At a recent press conference in Caracas, only yesterday, Maduro went even further, accusing the United States of political, diplomatic, and military aggression, insisting that these strikes violate international law. So here's a section of his remarks so you can hear for yourself. I've added the translation to the video so you can read along. The video is about 4 minutes long. If you want to fast forward, do so. But here's the video of Nicolás Maduro.
Venezuela ejerce el legítimo derecho, de acuerdo al derecho internacional y a la Constitución, a prepararse para la defensa de la paz. Ejercemos el legítimo derecho a la defensa. Y lo ejercemos plenamente. No es una tensión, es una agresión en toda la línea. Es una agresión judicial cuando nos criminalizan. Es una agresión política con sus declaraciones amenazantes diarias. Es una agresión diplomática y es una agresión en camino de carácter militar. Y Venezuela está facultada por las leyes internacionales para hacerle frente integralmente a esta agresión. No es una tensión, es una agresión. Nosotros dentro de Venezuela estamos viviendo. El fin de semana se volvieron a dar más de 300 conciertos. Los pueblos de Oriente celebraron a la Virgen del Valle como siempre la celebran, con conciertos, serenatas, bailes, alegría. Nuestro pueblo sigue trabajando. Yo decreté el adelanto de la Navidad un año más otra vez. Eso sí lo reflejaron bastante. Maduro vuelve a adelantar la Navidad, claro que sí, porque es como un llamado al niño Jesús, a nuestro Dios, para que nos proteja. Y además es como una vacuna de alegría y felicidad ante la guerra psicológica que pretende amargarnos. Yo califiqué que las relaciones de comunicación con el gobierno de Estados Unidos existían en 2 canales y estaban maltrechas. en su momento. Hoy puedo anunciar que las comunicaciones con el gobierno de Estados Unidos están deshechas por ellos, con sus amenazas de bombas, muerte y chantaje. Así no funcionamos nosotros. Con amenazas y por las malas, nunca jamás habrá nada. Y lo saben. Así que pasaron de una etapa de relaciones maltrechas de comunicación a deshechas. Y la historia continuará. Hoy, a esta hora que estamos aquí, me informaron antes de entrar, un gran éxito porque acabamos de hacer la interdicción legal de una lancha con 3.600 kilos de cocaína. Ahora, en tiempo real, está sucediendo. Y fueron rodeados, se utilizó la fuerza proporcional que manda la justicia y fueron capturados y el producto ha sido capturado y seguramente procederá a los mecanismos de destrucción. Eso en tiempo real, ¿verdad? Entonces, verdaderamente, esto amerita una investigación al máximo nivel, porque el video es un video de carácter militar. Y la información oficial que dan es que fue un ataque de carácter militar, ¿verdad? Quiere decir que se calculó y se filmó con varias cámaras un ataque de carácter militar sobre unas personas civiles que no estaban en guerra y no estaban amenazando militarmente a ningún país. Que si estaban cometiendo un crimen, hay leyes en todos los países del Caribe, hay leyes en todos los países de la región, desde Estados Unidos hasta Trinidad, hay leyes para la interdicción de delincuentes en el mar y de delincuentes en el aire. Y lo más importante es que las leyes funcionan. Así que, bueno, la investigación aquí está abierta y cuando haya resultados se darán completos, como siempre lo decimos, con la verdad.
Now let's turn back to Trinidad and Tobago's role here. Now, as you know, our Prime Minister, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, publicly praised the first US strike, saying she has no sympathy for traffickers. She also declared that if Venezuela were to attack Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago will take action. You decide for yourself how reasonable, how real this is. Fantasy, in my opinion. More recently, she reaffirmed that Trinidad and Tobago will do whatever is necessary to protect our security. And of course, every prime minister should do that. Those statements, though, have not gone unnoticed in Caracas. President Maduro responded by accusing the prime minister of going crazy. And in his words, practically declaring war on Venezuela. He claims she is threatening to authorize attacks from Trinidad and Tobago's territory against Venezuela. This is insanity. This is unheard of. So let's separate the facts from interpretation. There is no evidence that Trinidad and Tobago has authorized any military action against Venezuela. However, the Prime Minister's statements are on record, but they stop short of an actual declaration of force. What she said doesn't make any sense, as you know, but it stops at the declaration of force. So still, words matter. When a head of government speaks of taking action, those words carry weight far more or far beyond domestic politics. Now let's examine the international legal context here. The United States Charter Article 2 prohibits the use of force against another state except in self-defense or with Security Council approval. The United States argues that these operations target non-state criminal actors posing as an imminent threat, an argument sometimes called the unwilling or unable doctrine. Some legal scholars say limited force can be lawful if a state is unwilling or unable to stop a serious threat. Others say the US actions failed the test of necessity and proportionality and therefore breaches international law. Inside the United States, constitutional lawyers and members of Congress are questioning whether the president even has domestic authority for these strikes under the War Powers Act or any prior authorization for the use of military force. Venezuela rejects all US justifications, by the way. Its government insists these are not narco-terrorist operations, but illegal killings in its waters and in international waters. It also alleges that civilians were among the dead and the United States ignored due process. So what does this mean for Trinidad and Tobago? Number one, security. We are a maritime border with Venezuela, as most of you know. Any miscalculation could put our fishing communities and coastal patrols at risk. An accidental encounter between Venezuelan and US forces near our waters could easily spill over into ours. Secondly, diplomacy and trade here. Our economy relies on careful relationship with both Washington and Caracas. So we know about projects like the Dragon's gas deal that been killed, but that depended on dialogue with Venezuela, whilst also needing the US approval because of sanctions. So unclear signals from Port of Spain could disrupt any negotiation between us, Washington, and Caracas. Number three, legal exposure. If Trinidad and Tobago territory or facilities were ever used to support military action against a neighbor, our geographical neighbor, without a clear legal basis, we could face accusations of violating, should I say, international laws. Number four, domestic politics. Public opinion at home is already divided. Some citizens welcome a tough stance against drug trafficking, as you do. Others fear we are being dragged into a conflict that is not ours, that does not belong to us. It's between Venezuela and America. So, what should reasonable leadership look like? The government must clarify its position immediately. The Prime Minister should explain exactly what taking actions mean. Give the public a clear assurance that our territory will not be used as a launching pad for America on Venezuela, because that could be catastrophic for Trinidad and Tobago. Diplomatic channels must stay open. Trinidad and Tobago should engage directly with Venezuela, CARICOM, to reduce misunderstandings and work through everything with CARICOM and the Organization of American State to cool this tension that's happening right now. We do not want this to escalate. So our Coast Guard and Navy need to maintain vigilant maritime patrols and share information with fishermen and coastal communities to keep everyone safe. As for our leaders must communicate openly with the public, providing accurate information and avoiding language that could be read as a threat by our neighbors. So before we close, I want to address something on some feedback from my last video. Now, I want everyone to know I have no political affiliation. My only goal is to give you a fair and balanced report on issues that affect Trinidad and Tobago, issues that affect you. Some viewers expect me to attack one community or defend another, sometimes merely because of my race. That will never guide what I say here on Trinidad Empowerment Network. If everyone agreed with me, of course, it would probably mean I'm not asking the hard, difficult questions. So I will continue to call things as I see them, based on evidence, and always in the best interest of you, in the best interest of Trinidad and Tobago. This is a serious moment for the Caribbean, for Trinidad and Tobago. Words and actions have real consequences. Diplomacy, not escalation, must guide our next step. And that's my take on all of this today. Thank you to each and every single one of you for liking and subscribing to Trinidad Empowerment Network. I appreciate all of you. Even when you criticize me, I learn and we move forward, of course. Thank you for putting me on this platform. You build this platform, not me. I just deliver the message. Sometimes you agree, sometimes you don't. But in any case, thank you for liking and subscribing. And I'll see you guys on my next video. For now, much love. God bless. Take care. Look after each other. Peace.